Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Kyoto, Japan on the 27th of July 2013, Round 7 of the LFSCART Series, the Clockwise Challenge. 157 laps of the Kyoto Oval Reverse. Last time this series was in Kyoto, it was, I think we could say a little bit carnage. The Kyoto 500, of course, last month. Jonathan Palmer and Dominik Engel with you, and this race is going to be totally different than the Kyoto 500. It's only a 2-wide start as opposed to a 3-wide start. We've only got 11 people instead of 30. What's the challenge of today, Dom?
Turning right.
That is a bit of a challenge.
Well, I think it's the same as any oval race, really, which is just to not get caught up in other people's problems. Which is, well, historically easier said than done.
The other difference between this and the Kyoto 500 is the Kyoto 500 doesn't have a compulsory pit stop, but you need a lot of cautions to help you avoid a pit stop in the 500, whereas there is a compulsory pit stop. No service is required, just has to be a touch and go. But do you think, we've got 11 cars, so that reduces the risk of a lot of cautions? Do you think we're going to have the integral strategy choice today, Dom, with the fewest amount of cars?
I think everyone should just get their tank full, go, and well, if there's a caution, then use it to try and put fuel into the end. That's probably the only real strategy there is.
Alrighty, taking a look. This is going to be 157 racing laps after 3 pace laps. This is the ante-penultimate round of the 2013 LFSCART Series season. It is the 6th season of the series. Attendance has been kind of around this low most of the races. It's a little disappointing, but I think we've still had some pretty good competition. Following this, we end the penultimate round. 72 laps of the Fern Bay Gold Reverse Track for the Jamaican Grand Prix. And the final round, Grand Prix Japan, on August 24th. 49 laps of Kyoto National. So we'll get the oval out of the way of the lottery, and we'll have a good scramble for the championship towards the end.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think you could say. Who's gonna win the championship? Because it's not that obvious, really. It could be anyone who's attended multiple races. You have to say, really, not all of them, but multiple ones, and has scored decently in all of them so far.
Alright, taking a look at the points on your screen. Drivers' Championship classification after 6 of 9 rounds. Current championship leader is still Jesse Tokala. He was excluded following the Kyoto 500 due to unsportsmanlike conduct or reckless driving. But he has a 19-point lead. He had a 77 point lead going into the previous round. So he's got 19 over Thorsten Ulrich, who is not here for this round. He should be here for the rest of the rounds. 19 points back from Telkla. 26 points back from Telkla. Ronnie Krampusch, who is starting 4th today. Pole sitter today, Martin Kapal, is 4th in the championship, 54 points off the lead. Jaroslav Dominik not attending today. He is 63 points back. 64 points back from the lead on 94 points, both Ilari Jusela and Valtteri Pitkanen. Jusela having the tiebreak won on that position due to having won a race. Artur Yelostallo not here for this round, but he is 8th. 9th is Matthias Pipelka. Tony Letinmäki 10th. Zdenek Kagash is here for this round, 71 points in 11th, 87 off the lead. Yanni Vahakopoulos 12th. Dustin Dawes 13th, 66 points. And tied on 64 points, Thomas Cardani and Nathan Lamont. So there's the top 15 in your Drivers' Championship. To the Team Championship, Race Green Autosports has a 298 point lead over, or 298 points, 71 point lead over Genuine Racing in second. Core Racing 77 points back in third on 221. Savage 194 in 4th. Dynamics Racing 153. Team Vira's Last Left Motorsports Iron Club on 85. Infinity Esports on 73 points, along with Team Laptop Shop. Team Laptop Shop will collect a lot of points today with both Steve Martin and Owen Harmon today. Steve starting second. Owen Harmon starting just a little further back. UK Computing Team, Dustin Dawes supporting that all the way. 66 points in 11th, R-Force. Other instance of Infinity 13th, Angry Angus Racing Team that just recently shut down in LFS 14th, and Fred Loves Pie, the Jack DeMaster team, Jack Sidgwick team, on 28 points in 15th. We've had 29 teams partake so far total in the season. We've had 61 drivers partake so far in the season. Also now to the Nations Championship classification after 6 of 9 rounds. Finland dominating that with an 86-point lead on 211 points. Remember, the Nation Championship is an average of the highest 2 classified. Czech Republic second on 125. Latvia, then Canada, Germany, Netherlands, England, USA 8th on 39.5. Bulgaria 35th. Bosnia and Herzegovina represented by Niki Jakovic today on 26.5 points after his 1 appearance last round, winning the South City round as the field heads off onto the first of 3 pace laps. Norway, Austria, Denmark, Ireland, and Poland rounding out the top 15. So as we head off on to the formation lap, Dom, race start tricky. What do we got to expect?
Well, 5 wide into turn 1, usually. Maybe some people who will back off, some others who won't. Maybe the pole setter will be losing quite a few spots. That's at least usually how it goes. Yeah, maybe a few squirmish. Well, through a few cars just sliding around a bit on cold tires.
Taking a quick look at the grid, on pole, Martin Capel, Stephen Martin second. Row 2, Remco Major on the inside, Ronnie Krampus 4th. 5th, Niki Jakovic. Matisse Lind 6th. 7th is Owen Harmon. 8th, Jake Cooper. Dustin Dawes 9th. 10th, Zdenek Kagash. And did not qualify yet, Matthias Pivelka 11th. So to see the field head across the start-finish line, 2 more pace laps before we start the race. Draft is an integral part of this. You've got to work the draft well, but you also have to worry about when you get that run into turn 1. It's usually turn 3, but since we're going clockwise this time instead of anti-clockwise, the right-hand turn 1 instead of the left-hand turn 3. It's the tightest turn on the oval, and it's critical to get it right, Dom.
Yeah, it's the one with the least banking as well, so it's much easier to slide out wide in someone's draft than it is going the other way around. But yeah, well, it's much easier to not have a late race or late race challenge to the line in someone's draft, because the start-finish line is much sooner here, and the corner, well, before it is easily taken on the low line, so there is not really as big an opportunity to get past someone through there.
Final pace lap starting now. Sorry, trying to get onboards working. I didn't get those sorted out just in time, but we'll go for a quick sort of the TV director to get the onboards going so we can get you some cool onboards as we run the race. Okay, onboard's working. Well, there's Martin Capel starting on pole. See the safety car, Stu Baker driving the great safety boat just ahead.
Rolling away like a champion,
eh? Oh, yes. 3-hour time limit for this race. Also, are 2 tires compulsory for all? Heading into turn 3 to end the pace lap, Stu will do a suicide turn in into the pit lane. Martin Capel will have control. Heading out, final corner. Safety car pulls in, and at the line, green. Green is out. Race underway. Capel trying to hold the lead. Stephen Martin getting a great start. He'll have the lead heading in turn 1, but Capel has the inside. Key for this will be to settle into a pattern, try to get a pattern ahead. We are clear through turn 1 so far, again with only 10 cars starting. Hard to make contact early on, but with the bunching of the grid, it increases the chance. Capel has the lead. Martin dropping back to 5th. Nicky Jakovic coming up along the inside, 3 wide out of turn number 3. First lap lead is going to go to Remco Major by half a car.
It's probably gonna take a few laps till they're all spread out. Well, spread out into different groups at least.
Key is going to be to get into that draft, but you want to stay with the lead draft. You'll want to try and settle yourself down, find the people you work best with, stay with them, stay with the leaders. If you drop back, you hope to have someone with you back there, otherwise it'll take about 10 or 20 laps as long as they're well connected. Capel will lead across the line for lap 2, so Remco leading 1 lap, Capel leading 1 lap. Big 6-car jumble into turn number 1 again. Onto the back straightaway, Remco Major just ahead by about 3 car lengths. Jakovic and Capel. Jakovic having to check up a little bit, running outside. I think he misestimated clearance on the inside and almost ran up the back of Major. So top 4, Capel, Cooper, Major, Jakovic, not necessarily in that order at any one time.
That's well, pack racing at its best, I guess you could say.
So Nicky pulling out just a little bit ahead for now, but again, if you've got to lead by yourself, if there's people drafting effectively behind you, you will be swallowed up very quickly. Looking back in the back, Owen and Stephen Martin, we can see trying to hook up as they head through. Owen and Matisse Lind side by side. Also, Dustin Dawes in this gaggle. Field split up in about 2 right now. And a problem. That's Owen and Pipelka having contact, both off in the back, but of course staying green right now. They spun off. They were at the back. No need to go caution if they're at the back right yet. Back to the front gaggle.
Oh, we have
3 wide with 2 more trailing behind. Looks like Nicky is shifted to the outside. It's Capel and Cooper, the top 2. Jakovic, Remco Major, and Krampus bringing up the tail of this 5-car draft at the front. But Cooper and Capel, they're working together in a good, efficient 2-car draft. And the 3 just behind, they look like they're jumbled up. It looks like Capel and Cooper could start walking away right now.
Oh, very much so, yes. They've already gotten themselves a nice gap. And getting a 3-car draft organized is going to take some time. So they might just be edging away for now.
Out in the back, Dustin Dawes and Kagash trading 6th and 7th position. Dawes in the white and blue UKCT themed car. Kagash in the gold, white, and purple MasterCard themed Formula V8 F08. And also just behind, Stephen Martin and Matisse Lind. Steve Martin in the grayish white Team Laptop Shop car, just ahead of the green machine of Matisse Lind, the race green Autosports car. So these four scrapping, having a couple paired off duels. Back to the front, Jakovic and Remco Major splitting off from Krampus. Krampus looks like he's gonna try to just hang on. Remco and Jakovic look like they may be trying to catch the top two. They're at least station keeping the gap. The gap is just about half a second between the top two and the next two. So if we go green the entire way, if we don't have any cautions done, what's the kind of fuel expectancy? When are people going to have to fuel? Do we think people took a full tank of fuel to try and make it the entire way, presuming there'd be a caution, or do we think some maybe tried to short fill, expecting an early caution, and going to fill then?
It's the only option you really have to go 100%, because if there's a caution, any advantage you have is gone anyway. So, but bit more pace you have from lower fuel is basically not worth it at all. So I expect, I don't know, people to go maybe 130 laps on 100% max, 130, 40, 50, but for sure not for the whole race. I've been wrong before, and I've tried it multiple times, but I don't think I ever managed to run out of fuel here.
Nicky to the inside. So they've caught, Remco and Nicky have re-caught the top two of Cooper and Capel, bringing up another four-car draft. If they can't get it efficient, that could let Ronnie Krompush catch, but Remco is losing out just a bit. We've got a yellow.
And that's
yellow on the backstretch. Owen Harmon having a spin out of turn one. And Owen spinning again. He's got damage to the left-hand side and considerable damage to the rear right corner, presumably from his earlier incident. And it looks like he'll enter the pit lane. So Stuart Baker in our FZ5 safety car will wait for the field. So first caution here with 145 laps to go. The usual fuel window when you're by yourself, I think it's usually calculated to around 130, 140 laps. Would this, Dom, do you think be a good time to top up and hope you can save fuel or draft enough to save enough fuel to make it the rest of the way without stopping?
Well, if I was the most unlucky person on the oval, on an oval ever, which is what I am, then I would probably just try and not refuel at all right now, and just hope for more cautions. But yeah, maybe you need another 5-10%. Not a lot, but yeah, it's difficult to call. Probably gonna be more evident later on in the race if there's a late race caution and people are coasting around with in 6th gear with the clutch on full. Yeah, it's Krompers, Kagash, and Stephen Martin are all pitting, so it's like maybe they're going the safe way.
The odds are probably more in favor of at least one more caution in this race. see Ronnie Krampus. First out of the pits of this group. We'll have Kagash out next. And Steve will follow. And Matisse Lind will be the last one out. Kagash, when he confirmed, he gave it about an 80% shot. He said the forecast high was for around 35 degrees Celsius. I think he's kind of had it very hot in his room with his PC, so he kind of gets a little toasty in there. So I think if it was going to be too hot, I think he said he wasn't going to attend, or he's going to spend a little more time outside. It is kind of one of the, you don't have to worry about the temperature as much in the game, but the temperature and whatnot in the room where you're playing at can affect you.
26.7 degrees Celsius is what I personally have, but yeah, it's really not exactly joyful to drive for long periods right now, because the weather lately has been just diabolical. Some people may enjoy this heat, but I'd rather be if it was drizzling at 18 degrees. But instead,
safety car is going to, safety car will do away from the field. Kapal can go from any time about now. He controls the pace as long as he does not overtake the safety car before it enters pit lane. Stu is already almost there. Kapal waiting a long time. Green flag flies just before the line, and he'll be on it. Kapal and Cooper getting a great start together.
Getting a bit of a twitch there in turn one. Bumps on two bumps that LFS possesses. Looks like they both have a nice jump on everyone else.
And we'll see how long that lasts looking back. Pipelka, Kagash, and Krampus. The three-car change just up ahead, though. Dustin Dawes up into fourth with the draft. He's with Nicky Jakovic. Remco Manure! Is that Remco just clipping the apron,
yes.
It looked like?
There we go. Yeah, almost ended up in disaster with a bit of lag there.
You've got to focus so much for so long during this race, but it's kind of monotonous. You just got to hit your marks lap after lap. Turn 2 especially, it's kind of easy to just cut too much in and clip the apron. The banking to apron transition here is kind of severe, and it can snag you up, and if there's someone just too close up to you, you could have a bang up. Back onto the main straight another time. 19 officially scored laps complete. Kapal leading that lap by 5/100ths of a second over Jacob Cooper. They'll keep trading the lead as they draft. This group from 3rd to 8th, not looking very organized. Won't make very much progress up to the front as Tall's gets shuffled back.
That group's way too big to make any sense.
Krampus, huge crash!
And he's upside down. He's gone out of the track. Oh no, wait, he's
still on.
Someone's left reset on. He's been reset onto the track. Well, that's not well, how it's meant to be, he shouldn't be in the race anymore.
Stu Baker rushing to get out just ahead of the field, but yeah, Krampusch, after that big wreck, has a fresh car due to, if car reset is left on in LFS, if you go out of bounds, if you go out of the zone that LFS recognizes as that path of the track, it will, once it has the clearance in the track, it will just put you back on track at its reset point for that point on course. If reset's off, it spectates you when you roll out of bounds. We saw several people flip over the barrier, flipped over the barriers and got that out of bounds spectating. So it looks like the race administration is going to double check that to see if he should be DNF'd.
Well,
and
he
if
should
so,
definitely be DNF'd from my opinion, from my point of view, because I saw him upside down in space, and suddenly he was back on track with a car that's better than ever. Well, not better, but as good as ever.
The main example that I can give that caused the implementation of this rule is if the reset was left on and you get that benefit of being reset. It was an LFSCART race, I believe, or might have been an LFSCART light race. Nico Pantola got flipped out of bounds at FE Gold. Yes. So confirmation from the admins. Krampusch out of bounds, so he will be told to spectate shortly, if not sooner. Leading, who's that coming into the pit lane? Remco Major coming into the pit lane this time, and a couple more coming in behind. Looks like Dawes. So Remco pitting, Ronnie Krampusch spectating, Dustin Dawes pitting, and also Zdenek Kagash. So we have our first retirement, Ronnie Krampusch, and who stood to collect many points, now will get 0.
Which is not a lot.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Actually, how is it in real life IndyCar? Do you get points if... I thought you get points when no matter where you are.
In real life IndyCar, I believe so, but LFSCART rules you have to finish a certain percentage of the race, 75%.
These days. Wasn't always like that. Remember having a double DNF and getting 24 points from it a few years back.
Still way before the 75% point, so you never know what could happen if Kapal has a similar occurrence where he DNFs and gets 0 points. They stay the same. Safety car will be in the next time by. They stay the same, and then everyone else behind would catch up. A lot of people several points behind, but plenty with a chance to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Martin Kapal is looking pretty good for the championship, and I don't think really, as long as he finishes well, that he's got any proper competition in the points. So, yeah, and I think Nicky is just here to get a few race wins / podiums.
So safety car does away. Kapal waiting for a chance to get on the gas. Through turn 1, he steps on it, and green flag flies already.
Again, well before everyone else.
Filters across line. Kapal, as you see everyone across the line. Now, completing the 27th total lap. 24 racing laps complete. Capel getting a big jump on Cooper also. Closest cars right now, Kagash and Linda. A very spread out restart. Three cars together. Dawes, Mayor, Harmon, and Dawes almost making contact corner to corner. And trying to set up a three-car draft. The white and silverish car is Owen Harmon. Dustin Dawes again in the white and sky blue UKCT car. Remco Mayor in the yellowish blue Last Lap Motorsports machine. Or excuse me, Equestria Daily. He's not been an LLM for a little while.
Oh, I think he might be LLM again. I don't quite understand that situation at all, and I don't think I should even attempt to. It's not what I'm being paid for, because frankly what I'm being paid for is nothing. Yes.
So, 30 laps, the 30th overall lap being progressed. 29 complete, that's 26 officially scored. Everything's spreading out a little bit towards the back. Niki Jakovic all by himself here, while Cooper and Capel work together to pull away. A pretty good restart. Capel went early in turn 3, pulled out ahead, and Cooper stayed just close enough to have the draft and not let anyone else stay with those two.
He almost went a bit too early, to be honest, because he almost dropped Jacob Cooper there.
New personal best set by Pipelka. Personal best usually kind of get a little bit of raised eyebrows on road course racing, but with a big enough draft, you can easily shatter a PB here on the oval. Time differences on the oval, such a smaller gap can be so critical on an oval compared to a road course.
It's certainly not hard to set a PB on an oval. You see it quite often, even from the people who've done quite a few races on the combo before.
Since we do have a long race ahead of us, the longest non-Kyoto 500 race of the season, any questions or that anyone wants answered about the series, NDR, LFS, whatever, feel free to ask. You can either ask on the LFS forum in the general discussion section of the thread about this broadcast. Also, you can tweet to NDR. Our Twitter address is NDR_LFS. That is NDR_LFS. So tweet to @NDR_LFS. And Mayor and Dawes have broken up. I wasn't looking at the screen. didn't exactly see what happened. Speculation upstairs could be coming together.
There are a few cars with battered front wings, so could well be, yes.
Steve Martin and Matisse Pepelka side by side. Martin in the, once again, the gray and white Team Laptop Shop machine. Pepelka in the mostly white with some black striping. FO8 just ahead as they head down the main straight. Martin to the inside into turn 3. Turn 1, excuse me.
And this is also the last oval race this year, which, well, I've been in sadder moods because of losses or the last race of whatever, but well, it's a fact and a statistic anyways. It's the last oval race of the year. Well, NDR oval race at least. I'm not sure about any other oval races or any. Certainly there aren't any with GTRs in the winter. A part of a championship with road courses.
Yeah, back to the road courses for a few months. You know, good enough, but can be too much of a good enough thing.
Yeah, I guess you could say it like that.
Once again, you're watching round 7 of the LFSCART 2013 series, the Clockwise Challenge. You're live on simrace.tv. 122 laps remaining. Jonathan Palmer, Dominik, Engel with you, watching Stephen Martin and Matisse Pepelka battle side by side. Doing the standard 2-car draft, as is done around here. They are slowly catching up to Niki Djakovic. If they can get an efficient 3-car draft working, they may, just may, be able to work down that about 4 1/3 second gap between Mr. Djakovic and the top 2. But they won't be doing that right now. Previous lap time for the top 2, 36.9. Niki's previous solo lap, 37.2. Fuel makes a big difference in your lap times here. FO8 holds a maximum of 125 liters. Uses very little per lap, about 0.8% per lap by yourself. You can reduce that to about 0.5 or 0.6 if you are doing very well in a draft.
I don't think those two are consistent enough to really catch Niki though, because they've just lost two tenths again in the second split, and Niki is not exactly inconsistent running on his own.
Last lap for Niki, 37.23. Last lap for Martin and Pepelka, 37.49 and 37.40 respectively. Looking back from the gearbox of Djakovic's FO8 as he works into turn number 3 another time. on board with Stephen Martin right now.
Actually, they're losing time from drafting because the car of Kapelka is completely trashed on the right side suspension.
Matthijs Lind making a pit stop under green flag. That will definitely lose you at least a lap. Matthijs Lind exiting the pit lane. He'll join generally behind everyone. He should be behind everyone, as he's very slow coming on the pit exit apron. He should come up. No, he'll come up just in front of Stephen Martin. He's that green car just to the right-hand side. If he can stay just behind, which he does, so he avoids interfering too much with these top competitors.
I think you could say that LFSCART marks, or rather the end of LFSCART marks the end of the summer season for the LFS leagues, doesn't it?
And Blue Flame, Jacob Cooper in the pits out of the top two. That's going to leave Kapal on his own. So this is what I mentioned earlier. And Blue Flame is retiring from the race. Not sure what the deal is with that. So that leaves Kapal on his own. And we'll have to see what he can do by himself compared to what Nicky can do by himself. Based on the practice speeds and knowledge of everyone, I would presume Kapal has the pace over Jakovic.
Looks like Blue Flame's wife may have had a word with him or something.
Possible. Something about some unexpected visitors there. I think it was the 2011 season.
With Stormcloud.
Yes, Dave Southward, Stormcloud. What was it? It was Aston, I believe, wasn't it? Or no, it was Kyoto.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It was either Aston or Kyoto. And all of a sudden, apparently, Mr. Southward, Mr. Stormcloud, who's one of the most respectful, one of the better FO8, one of the best FO8 racers I've ever seen. It's very good to have his presence in our series. Something was going on in his house. His wife either asked for something, or I think he didn't necessarily tell her that he had the LFSCART race, so she didn't really know, and when she found out, she was a little frustrated. They had a bit of aggro, and her solution was to Alt F4.
Quite bad when females know about binds. And well, you just gotta take the consequences. I think someone's got it as a signature. I think he posted in the forum about it, saying that his dinner was on the table getting cold, and his wife just Alt F4'd, and then of course there was also that legendary reply from Ben Kyo. Was really a very nice experience, I guess.
Well, time to go hunting. Actually, I think it was Blackwood. Now that I come to think of it. Yeah, every thread this season I seem to have to go through a million posts asking, what stream are we going to be on? And Matthijs Lind has disconnected.
well.
8 cars left. That is just one above the... There's a minimum in the NDR Sporting Code. At 25% of the maximum allowable grid size, it opens up administrator discretion to suspend, postpone, or abandon the race. And I believe that has only happened once in NDR's history. It was an LFSCART race. It was at Fern Bay Black. It was the super endurance that we used to do at Fern Bay Black. And I think we finally abandoned it a little before 3/4 distance, with about 4 cars running. That kind of brings me back. I just the other day created a thread about kind of what I think is the biggest issue facing LFS is that we've got people, like Newman Racing ourselves, Dom, you and your Genuine Racing Leagues, Cameron Corns and his Worldwide Racing Leagues, the artist formerly known as Realistic NASCAR, and the Revolutionary Racing Leagues, done by the Kingsburys, etc.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I was just distracted. I hear that Dustin Dawes and Remco Major having actually a bit of aggro contact. Hard as the wall, Major's out of bounds.
Oh dear.
Safety car's called. Remco Major out of bounds. They make contact, headed up into the wall. And Remco Major has retired from the race.
And that makes it 7, which is less than 25%.
Yes.
We should just continue whatever we were talking about. I've already forgotten.
And Stu Baker, I think, is still having a cigarette break.
Oh dear.
He does that from time to time.
This is going well.
He was kind of expecting they wouldn't crash, and the odds were that they wouldn't.
Well, yeah, but I think people are usually people only go out of bounds when there are no cars in the race. It doesn't happen when there are 20.
Well, it happened 4 times in the Kyoto 500.
This year?
Yes, 3 or 4 times.
I don't even remember that.
Well, there were 2 that were totally flown out of bounds, Mr. Major style.
All I remember about going out of bounds is that I once went out of bounds here when I was like 3 laps down to the leader in an LFSCART light race about 3 years ago, and yeah, that was also a very interesting incident. What you were saying about leagues?
I think I'll let you take on about this, but yeah, discussion about participation, low participation. It is kind of what's hurting. We get lots of people signing up, not just to this league, but to other leagues, and you've seen that a little bit. The attendance drops off. Half of them, over half that do sign up, don't show up.
That's probably true, yes. I think the maximum Turbo Trophies had an attendance, for example, with 110 signups is, I think, 67 for round 1 pre-qualifying. And, well, I guess maybe you can't just kick people off the sign-up list as well, which is, it sounds easier than it is, because then you can get yourself into trouble with, well, but I was signed up, but that guy took my number, but God knows what. It would just make things more complicated than they are, and I think just the weather is contributing quite a bit to the low attendance rate recently, but I think it's somehow not that easy to point your finger at what's wrong with league racing, why not many people are attending to it, because frankly I can't put my finger on it really. All I know is that there's top drivers, there's bottom drivers in LFS. However, there is much fewer midfield drivers. If you had a 30-car race, you have top first to 10th, you have 21st to 30th, but you have that bit from 11th to 20th that's missing. And I think you can see that more than ever. I think that's the difference between a couple of years ago and now. You just can't afford to really lose 3, 4, 5 people from a league anymore, because mostly people won't come back. There are probably multiple factors contributing to that. I think, well, lack of interest. I think it's more lack of interest in a certain situation, frustration if you're not going to qualify or pre-qualify. It's I guess stuff like that drives people away, and after that point they don't really care about it anymore.
We'll continue this discussion in just a moment, but look who's leading. Capalp made a pit stop. Papelka now coming into the pits. This is a point where you can make your stop and carry on. Safety car, which never went out because it got back just before Thilo was going to recall the safety car. But Capalp had it, extending it by a lap. Stephen Martin, safety car Steve, is leading, and considering the safety car didn't actually scramble this time, he's leading, but he's also functioning as safety car Steve.
Well, isn't that wonderful?
That's full circle if I saw anything.
That's multitasking right there. Oh no, it still looks like there are more cars than in all the Indy Lights races I've seen this year.
There were 11 cars at the Firestone Freedom 100.
Oh, 11. There were 11 cars in this one.
And one spun on the pace laps.
Was it Wilco?
No. Steve Martin puts the hammer down.
I think he got it right there. He's right on his back bumper.
Yep. Green flag back out. 56 laps complete.
Yeah, the weather lately really isn't helping LFS because, well, usually people's mouse cursors melt before they can even click on the LFS icon on the desktop, so it's not really contributing to league racing, especially in what always has been a weak summer historically. But yeah, it's just probably more noticeable than it was in previous years.
Winter does usually get more participation anyway because exams aren't as prevalent. The weather is obviously rubbish. I mean, if you live in places like Finland and Estonia and whatnot, what else is there to do? You can drift your car in the snow, but otherwise why don't you stay inside your house where it's ostensibly warm and race a little bit.
Well, I think the other bit that's really really hurting leagues is that there really isn't the interest of people to really promote those leagues. This is one of the few leagues in LFS that actually has live race coverage. There are barely any race reports from league organizations because simply people don't have time, or there are not enough people. And frankly, for me personally, I try and do as much as I can. Well, obviously I'm not doing things alone, but I always try and do as much as I can. But if I got myself to actually trying to produce highlights packages or anything like that, maybe race reports would still be doable, but anything beyond that would probably get me into a mindset where it would no longer be fun or no longer be satisfying and providing people a chance to race, but actually work and work that is just simply annoying on the long term. You always need to have a group of people. You need to work together as a group, and that's what makes promoted and full racing series. And I think that's probably something that's gone away much more than anything else in the past few years. Guess everyone who's started LFS 4 years ago or so remembers the MOE streams and the IGTC streams and all the discussions from teams and this happens and that happens and thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to be part of that, but if you're not in a league nowadays, you probably won't know much about it.
Yeah, while I'm trying to find this happening between Stormcloud and his wife, I'm just looking through, I was going through the 2011 season, and you know what one of the big issues in 2011 was? Simon Cattell complaining about cloudy afternoon instead of clear day, killing his frame rate.
I thought you were gonna say accident, but that one's good as well. Yeah, I like that one.
Of course, 2011 was that classic English Grand Prix at Westhill International where Simon and Isaac on worn tires, Simon on fresh tires, having the classic taking each other out. One of the classic LFS moments. I would definitely say so. And not just because me and Chris Ford and Will Go are all shouting at the top of our lungs.
Yeah, I guess another classic LFS moment was the one MOE moment from years ago at Kyoto National between First and Speedo.
Oh yeah, kind of where I go insane again.
Yes.
With the most maniacal laugh anyone has ever heard.
Well, Paso wasn't much better, really.
The LFS version of the Hakkinen and Schumacher overtaking Ricardo Zonta, who I'm sure soiled himself down the Kemmel Straight. You know, remember what one of the big things in 2010 was in LFS, Dom? Timo Hinen.
Oh, giving. What? That he went to the army?
Yeah, his conscription with the Finnish army.
I only remember that he had a very interesting reason for giving a drive-through penalty in the 2010
yes.
NDL summer event. That's what I think was the most interesting thing about Timo Hinen in 2010.
That does qualify, yes. Dustin Dawes, Zdenek Kagash having a bit of a battle. And Capel and Owen Harmon battling along. And it looks like these four that are behind may catch the top two. Theodore Falkenberg has kindly corrected me, saying that he needs to be called Tim O'Hinninan, as he is so Irish. I don't know if that has to do with his penchant for alcohol, his ability to hold his drink.
Oh,
Gosh, Capel and Dawes 3 wide into turn 3.
At least all the cars driving are still almost all together.
This is exactly what we don't need. We don't need all these four to catch up to the top two and have all 6 crash, do we?
No, because then one's bound to go out of bounds.
Oy.
Joke of the week.
Dustin sliding in turn 3. I think he underestimated his speed compared to the amount of turning force he'd need.
It will be, yeah.
Matis Popelka is about to put a lap down. We watch these 3 cars, Kagash, Harmon, excuse me, go ahead.
I have found said post. That we've been looking for the last
What season? Is it 2009?
It's 2012, round 2.
Oh, let me look. Let me have the honor of reading this aloud.
I think. Oh, well, and also there's a great reply from no one less than Ben Keogh.
Wait, I think I remember that was a reply. Okay, so 2010, round 2, that was...
2012.
Yeah, 2012, round 2. Yes, that was 2012. Kyoto National Reversed. Let's see here. Scroll till I find it. God, why does this take so long, Dom?
It's post 28, I think.
Thank you. Round 2 race discussion?
Yes.
In 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I see it?
Because it's only called discussion and not race discussion. Oh wait, because it's LFSCART Series. Oh, that explains things.
Oh, that helps. I was barking up the wrong tree then. Let me get it. Well, they had a pretty good LFSCART Light race yesterday. I've seen better, but I've seen worse.
At least it had more cars.
James Peace utterly failed at a last lap maneuver, giving them into his teammate Maki.
Well, doesn't he still look pretty good though in a championship?
Yes. Okay, here is the glorious post. Stormcloud posting on 19th March 2012, 1720 UTC, post 28 of the LFSCART Light Series 2012 Round 2 discussion. Quote, as we are 4 wide between Kagash, Dawes, Harmon, Capel. Enjoy watching this while I read. Quote, I got Alt F4'd by the missus. We started arguing about my dinner, which was on the table going cold, just after the restart, and that made me spin. I got back on, and we carried on shouting at each other until the main straight when she closed down LFS. Argument over. And the classic response from Ben Keogh. 2 lines. First line. Lol. LOL. Followed by, she sounds like a winner. Dramas. Right down.
There's not much to discuss after that anymore.
The better reply to Stormcloud's post was Timo Hinian. And that reply was, "Why have you got your PC in the kitchen?" Of these 3 cars, Dustin is the only one on the lead lap.
No one racing is watching the stream. They might quit and just watch the post to laugh or read the rest of the thread.
Oh, and the best part about that whole thing was, I replied, "Surely you've got something you can hold hostage for her for an appropriate amount of time in sort of revenge, since she has cost you 5 points because of the rule about rage quitting, which this wasn't, but the rule doesn't allow exceptions, is minus 5 points for the first infraction, and thus you'll probably be on minus 5 points. That was his first round. He didn't get any points for finishing because he didn't do enough percentage of the race." I said, "You're one of the last people I'd expect to rage quit, so I thought something was up when you vanished." And Dave's reaction was, "Trust me, if you'd seen her then, you would have ruled it a rage quit anyway. Can you put her on minus 5? We are halfway home in this race." And he added that it's usually not a problem with a bit of negotiation and pre-approval, but I don't race a lot these days and forgot to mention it. That was one of the classic ones. So we've got 7 cars left, and Papelka and Harmon having contact, putting them both into the wall. No spinning. They were both right up against the outside, but it could result in a bit of damage, a little bit of left-hand side damage to Owen. Still battling up front between Jakovic and Steve Martin, and if they keep together, could be between just these two for the checkers. So we've got Fern Bay Gold Reversed coming up in 2 weeks' time, Dom. One of the tighter tracks. If we get a decent amount of cars and a big speed discrepancy, that could be just a little interesting for overtaking.
It's gonna be interesting for overtaking caused by mistakes of the guy in front, yeah. Otherwise it's not gonna be very interesting for overtaking at all. It's not a track where overtaking really is an option if the guy in front isn't exactly making a mistake. I think the last time I raced there, which was in 2011, I think I flipped twice. I still finished 8th. I still finished 8th, but I was a lap down.
Wait. So this race is about an hour old. But we're past halfway, so we should have nothing to worry about with the time limit.
Not with so many cars, they're spread out so much. I think it's almost impossible for them to now actually cause the yellow. There's plenty of time to react. But yeah, it's not gonna be too long until LFSCART will be done with for this year, and LFSCART Lite. And then we're slowly gonna get into the October-November region, and then things are gonna kick off all over again. In, well, closed cockpit racing, at least.
Yep, enough of the silly roofless cars, as Mr. Stuart Baker would call them.
Roofless cars, that could be a double meaning, but okay.
You what me?
Could be roofless as in RUTHLESS.
Well, sure.
But there are certainly a few things coming up. I think people who are into league racing are aware of that.
Yep, we've got the GT World Series starting up at the end of October. We've got a couple Gen R Series. Am I right in GT1 Challenge and GT Open?
Very much so. We've also got the GTI trophy, which is like the Turbo trophy, but with GTI cars. Who would have thought? Which is coming up in, I think, about 8 weeks' time. For the first race at, well, where else other than Blackwood?
If anyone had been listening in race control just a minute ago, Thilo would have blown your eardrums out. He's not only minding this race, but he's also paying attention to the Dortmund-Bayern Munich football match, to which Dortmund is up 3-1. And Thilo being a Dortmund fan, and Thilo obviously having less depression after a football match than, say, someone named Chris Wilkinson who supports the Sunderland Football Club.
Yeah, that's why all people who are like him in Sunderland are suicidal, because frankly their club always loses. If there's one thing about football is never bet on Sunderland to win. I know nothing about football.
So Dom, why don't you kind of explain what you've got coming up in your in these specific Gen R leagues over the next few months?
Well, we've got the GTI trophy coming up mid-September, early September. I'm not even quite sure what it starts, but you'll find it on LFS forum in a genuine racing section with obviously both GTI class cars, XFG, XRG, 40-minute races with mandatory pit stop every 2 weeks or so usually. We've got our highlight race as well, actually, which I haven't mentioned before, the 9 hours of Aston Historic Reversed, with a few automatic entries to teams that are successful in the Gen R and Gen R leagues and also other series within the last 12 months. We've got the Genuine Racing GT Open starting at the beginning of December, so that one's still quite a bit away, which is going to be, let's say, the new address for lesser and lesser experienced racers and rookies, as it is Pro-Am and Am League. And we've got GT1 Challenge under its new format with one car, the Yesterday, with no balancing, and Super GT and a Super GT style race calendar with 600, 5, 300 and 1,000 kilometer race. I think that pretty much sums up what we've got until, well, pretty much mid-April next year.
That is a good dossier of events coming up in the next few months. Hopefully plenty of people participate.
You never know before, you're always only gonna know when a first round takes place.
The way for someone who might be interested to sign up is what, Mr. Engel?
Well, seeing as the GTI trophy obviously is a single driver championship, is to go to the LFS forum, to the Genuine Racing subforum within the league subsection, and then go to the GTI subforum of that, where you will find a sign-up thread where you have to provide some information which is hopefully not too private for people's liking, which is name, username, nationality, starting number, and car selection, as in XRG or XFG, and then to click on post reply, which is something I think surely many people will be capable of, and feel free to join in. Everyone's welcome. We probably, well, if the sign-ups demand it, we are thinking about maybe introducing a second grid for the first few rounds of the season, so that the people who do not qualify within the first 32 spots actually get a chance to race. And, well, for the other leagues after it, we have obviously, but those are obviously only team-based, which means if you're on a team, you're in luck, because you already have teammates. If not, well, you can find yourself someone who you want to race with, a friend, ex-teammate, whatever, team up for the series, with pretty much the same procedure. Just follow the sign-up thread in the Genuine Racing subforum. You will find the subsections for the leagues coming up there, which aren't, well, sign-ups aren't open for GT Open, GT1 Challenge. They are open for the 9-hour race, so feel free to enter that if you wish. And also, well, sign-ups, you can expect sign-ups to be open in about, let's say, 2-3 weeks once the New Endurance Challenge and Turbo Trophy have ended. And, well, yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. Everyone has an account for that forum. If you have an account for LFS, you've got an account for that forum. All you have to do is remember your password, put it in, and log in. And, well, it's pretty much as easy as it can get, really. It's the case for most leagues.
So looking at the NDR right now, the only thing officially scheduled and announced is the GT World Series, which will be a few 6-hour races, 3 6-hour races as a matter of fact, a 12-hour race and a 24-hour race. Starting in, as mentioned earlier, late October, continuing until early February. The sign-ups should open sometime around September. It will be a mix of GT1 and GT2 cars. Safety cars, of course, employed. It will be the top endurance racing series, or at least it's intended to be the top type of endurance series. Some other ideas that have been kicked around almost a year ago now, that just hadn't gotten off the ground due to varying reasons, either busy, whatnot, or waiting until trying to get some things a little easier to to make things a little easier in terms of tracking sign-ups, results, points, etc., etc. One of those being the LX Challenge, which was discussed around last October, November region. It would take the LX6 restricted with, I believe it was 6% intake restriction and 21 kilograms of ballast, and also some setup restrictions to try and have it emulate as closely as we could in LFS the Caterham Cup. That may start sometime in the next month or two if we can figure out the time. That would be a simple series, no safety cars or anything, just straight up a couple races on a day. A second grid may be employed if necessary and proper. Some other things that may come about during the winter, there may be a turbo series towards the end of winter. January, February, March area. Not much else in the pipeline as yet. Still considering doing a one-off, at first anyway, one-off Icon Touring Car Championship ITCC revival thing with the FXR 32%. I'm sure that might have gotten some ears perking up for people who remember that. The last season, that being in 2011, I believe.
Yeah, 2011.
Dom, the encyclopedia of LFS.
Oh, I just remember things that I've actually read, mostly. I don't remember anything from ovals ever, but I think that's just, well, I don't know, my brain avoiding to me to remember any oval races where, again, I was trying to be conservative and had an accident of some sort, not being my fault mostly. Except for that one where I turned right into CSF, which was my fault.
You
2
sound
years
bitter,
ago.
Tom.
Not really. Just, well, only fun. It's only motivating to keep going on if you're crashed so many times. After so many times more, it's no longer motivating. Yeah, I think there's also World CBO Championship Series coming up from Cornice League Worldwide Racing, and
Yes. He just announced it in the last day or two.
yeah, and also the City Liga 18 should start somewhere around September, October with a shortened season this time and a brand new website after the last one went up in flames. But yeah, if you want variety, I think you pretty much have got it for the next 6 months and beyond.
Of course, Phil Falkenberg, an official German to English translator representative for City Liga. One of the longest standings, if not the longest standing league in LFS. Does OWRL's had a season this year, haven't they?
What did you just say?
OWRL.
Oh, I'm not sure.
This year? They've been very quiet, I think.
Lately they've been quiet, but I think they've done something this year.
Oh, I should mention, next month is the Racing Minds 16-hour race. I had a little bit of aggro with restrictions for that, but I think certain people have finally come to realize that their reigns were maybe not most correct. Thilo in my ears just said that OWRL has done an MRT Cup.
Wasn't that way at the start of the year though?
Earlier in the year, I would probably, because I haven't seen anything.
Usually it's always around New Year. I don't even remember who won it. I think I just remembered who won it actually. Or maybe I didn't. Well, not one of the most popular cars, that's for sure. But usually whenever it takes place, it has a decent amount of cars and people entering.
Thilo says that the winner was a Mr. Winkler, who is now a fairly new core racing driver.
Yes, well then I did remember that, right.
Okay, good. We do have, slowly, inexorably, Kapal and Kagash catching Misters Martin and Nikki Jakovic, so we could have a bit of a battle on our hands. We'd have to complete 127 officially scored laps to meet the 75% distance required for full points. That is 130 of 160, and by that point it's basically just not worth considering that suspension, especially if we've got Kapal and Kagash catching. It's kind of worth it to let it see if this carries on and they can catch up.
Well, yeah, and if the event started with 10 cars, it's really not fair to the people that did bother to turn up and are still in the race to just call a race suddenly and not let it run to the distance.
Last lap, Nikki 36.97, Steve Martin 36.94, Kapal, Kagash 36.7 to 36.7, respectively. They are catching. Gap was about 2.5 seconds about 5 minutes ago. It's down to just over, or just under, excuse me, 2 seconds. I think with that most recent safety car, it took away any fuel worries.
Well, at least that's what you would expect.
Unless someone made a colossal misjudgment in maths or burning or whatever. Hearing in my ear that Kagash may be a little worried about his petrol level. So apparently both Kapal and Kagash on an aggressive strategy, which could explain part of their speed advantage. We've got Iggy Jakovic, Stephen Martin having to get around Papelka in a lapped car. They're trying to do so. Papelka may cause some grief to this and let everyone catch up. Everyone has made their compulsory pit stop, so that is all taken care of. So no one has to worry about that anymore. So Nicky and Steve getting around the lapped car easily, and he'll just hang out. He'll be overtaken soon by Kapal and Kagash. Dustin Dahl is back here trundling around in 5th position. I think it'll be one of his highest finishes ever. He did briefly lead a Sim Touring Car Cup race years ago when that was on in the 07-08 realm.
You mean with Victor Sarbo in the RB4?
Which, didn't he not actually race the RB4?
Oh, he raced the XRD. It sounds much better when you say RB4. Also remember a certain Johnny Picard racing in that series.
Ah, yes. Gap down to, or staying at around 1.8, 1.9 seconds between the top two and the second two. Kagash Kapal getting around the lapped car easily. Let's watch Steve and Nicky a bit and see how well they draft together. Track clear ahead for these for a long while. The next car they'd be lapping is Owen Harmon.
Actually quite amazing if you look at series like STCC at how times have changed in LFS over the years. I mean that league is now, believe it or not, it's 6 years since that league finished. 6 years.
And the fact that its legend still lives on is one of the most famous, one of the most popular, one of the most favorite leagues. It was ahead of its time. It was really good. It was built, I think Becky Rose admitted that, or kind of said that she based it around what she wanted to do media-wise, broadcast-wise. It kind of set it up that way, so everything was really easy for her to set up the broadcast. I think she said she would resurrect it only after some updates and whatnot. To the graphical improvements to make things a little easier and better, but the product she produced back then, fantastic. I presume it's still on YouTube, so you could probably look it up. Just look up LFS STCC Sim Touring Car Cup. You might find some. Owen Harmon causing a yellow flag on the main straight. And
he's got a blown tire.
Right rear.
He's not got a blown tire. It's not a Pirelli. But yeah, it's flat the right rear.
No one else should have tire issues, it looks like, as yet. For the record, Stu Baker has gone for another cigarette break.
which is a synonym
Possibly.
for please don't crash.
Yep, on Harmon exiting the pits. Leaders will overtake him on the track. Kapal, Kagash, very efficient in the draft compared to Djakovic and Martin. Road is clear ahead for a long time, so it's just what the pairs can do. But when they all four get together, it will throw things wide open. What will happen when Kagash and Kapal catch the front two of Nicky Djakovic and Steven Martin? It will happen before any issues. Side-to-side contact between Djakovic and Martin, and you don't want that. You never know when you get a small leg contact. Kagash, Kapal, closing in, hand over fist.
They're gonna have a couple of turns, and they're in the zone, in the VTEC zone.
Let the VTEC kick in, yo.
Exactly. I think that happens every time you get in a draft. VTEC kicks in.
118 of 157 laps complete. All that Djakovic and Martin have to do is hang on with Kagash and Kapal. Kapal has the draft. 4 cars in this draft now. Kagash could technically just sit behind these 3, let them do the dancing. He can just sit behind, stay on half power, stay with them, conserve fuel. That may stretch him. Thilo recounts that this is the longest green flag run he remembers since the Speed Weeks 400 a few years ago, which was
in 2010.
Won by Ori Motorson or whatever he called himself that year.
Maybe it was 09 then, I don't remember. But I remember the 400 in 2010 was pretty nice as well.
Yes.
I don't recall that there were many cautions in that.
Kagash is doing fairly well to stay with the top 3, but I think he's lost him now, which keeps it now just, yeah, he's definitely lost him. So that keeps Kapal, Martin, and Djakovic, but Kapal might drop back to keep Kagash with him, because the longer Kagash can stay in the draft, the longer he can just kind of stay behind on half throttle, but stay with them. He can extend his fuel by that. We don't know exactly how shy he might be on fuel, how shy himself or Kapal could be on fuel, but we know together they can catch the front 2. They've done it. Kapal drops back to Kagash, picks him up, and they'll start to catch him again.
Usually what I did in these races when I was on my own and I didn't really draft with anyone is help the person coming up to me behind me to get the draft of the people in front and then just leave it be and wait for the last 10 laps. And usually was a caution.
A caution would change the complexion of this entire race. It would put everyone together. It would almost eliminate any fuel issues. Kagash, I think, just totally mistimed his run and made front to rear contact.
That was a run and a
pulling
half.
a gap out ahead of these 3, but they'll eat him back up shortly. All drivers who finish at this point will Or all drivers now on the track, regardless of whether they DNF from now on, will score points. They've all completed the 75% distance. Steve Martin has lost the draft to the front three for now. But if they don't get organized enough, if Nicky throws enough of a wrench in it, he may be able to catch back up if they don't draft efficiently enough.
There's a lot of line changing between all of them, really. That can't be very efficient. But I think Kagash just lost the draft. You have so few cars, it's really everyone for himself.
And it looks like Kagash has dropped back from Kapal for now. I don't know if Kapal will catch up, or drop back to let him catch up or not. And I'm pretty sure
I think he's just done it. He's just done it.
Yep, he has. So Steve Martin, who was in with a chance to win early on, losing the draft, currently on a position to settle for fourth if things carry on, but if these three are close together towards the end, if Nicky keeps splitting up 64 and 22 of Kapal and Kagash enough, if they race too hard, too aggressive, anything can happen. 29 to go at the line. Bearing in mind, Kapal and Kagash in the same TeamSpeak channel. Stephen Martin on his own. Nicky Jakovic on his own. Gives a bit of an advantage to Kagash and Kapal. Having that ability to communicate can be a bit of an advantage. Kapal, I think, just barely tapped the wall out of turn 2. Well, Dom, if you're Nicky, what are you doing right now? What is your strategy?
Well, if I'm Nicky, I know I have no chance for the championship. I'm just gonna try and go for it, really.
Series has had 6 different winners in 6 different races in the first 6 races. Nicky on a chance to, and Stephen Martin is catching again, according to Thilo. Top 3 are staying single file for now.
I think they tried to run in this draft already. They're trying to drive in this draft now.
It's safe.
They're not even trying to overtake.
Fuel? They're saving fuel, probably, aren't they? That's exactly what they've got to be doing. Saving fuel.
Whatever strategy they took, I'm not convinced it's a very good one, really.
If they can stretch the fuel and make it, it pays off. But if they run out, they're not going to lose too many points. But a win's a win.
I think you can almost coast a full lap if you're starting to lose drive from full speed, so they're not gonna DNF no matter what, but I don't really understand why they did that. Just wasn't worth it at all.
Looking from
Stephen
gearbox
Martin's
back.
really catching up.
He'll throw a wrench into this that these two may not be able to deal with.
Welcome to the Do Not Overtake queue, sponsored by the World Touring Car Championship, where overtaking is something you must not have ever.
Is this also Schleben?
Actually no, it happened
Did
at
we
the
just
Salzburg Ring.
Oh yeah, sorry. Did we just suddenly transplant ourselves to Salzburg?
I think so, yeah. I just everyone's going to 70 to 290, so they're going way too fast as well.
Three of the top four have not yet won an LFSCART race this season.
Oh
Nicky
dear.
is the only one who has won. Kagesh, Kapal, Martin have not won. If they keep the single file game up, he's still with them. Even if he loses draft, Steve has a chance. If they're going to stay behind, he could almost risk a dive from the inside to sneak him.
I'm not sure whether they're even trying to save fuel. Maybe they're just trying to be behind for the last half lap. Which is quite ridiculous if they're trying to achieve that. It's just pathetic.
If they stay slow enough, Dustin is a half lap behind. I don't think there's enough time for Dustin to get in on this.
Gonna win.
Nicky pulling out ahead of Kagesh and Kapal. This is just totally chess. This is fuel saving chess.
It's not even got to do anything with fuel saving, and if it does, then I don't understand what went on when they chose their strategy.
Reminds still of cycling. They're in the peloton. Yep, it is pretty much exactly like cycling. As mentioned, breakaway, suddenly people pick up. $20 to go. Contact again, bumper to, or wing to wing between Kagesh and Kapal. They're going to have to start going soon if they want to catch up.
Not even sure what they're doing, really.
I think what Kapal and Kagesh were wanting to do was drop Steve.
They haven't done a very good job of it, that's for sure.
Steve's in the middle of a 3-car draft between Kagesh, Martin, and Kapal.
3-car lift-off.
3-car train!
It's not a lift-off as in they're going off the ground, they're lifting off the bloody throttle all the time. There was a bit of contact between Steve and Kapal.
You know, usually what you do in LFS is draft all the way up until the last couple laps. They've stopped.
I can't believe I'm seeing
This is. I do think Kapal and Kagash are trying to set up Steve so they can dump him and go. I don't think they want Steve with him because they know that if they can double team Nikki, they've got it. New PB Dustin Dawes 36.71, which was faster than everyone in the top 4 by at least a third of a second. 16 to go.
This is fabulous, really.
Steve's just hanging on the back of Kagash. Dustin's got the gap down to 18.5 seconds. Nicky is pulling away by himself because these 3 behind are doing just whatever Mickey Mouse they've done, and I think Kapal and Kagash should drop Steve. I think they caught Steve napping, and if they can quickly get into a pattern, they'll catch.
I don't know, weaving. They don't want to draft. Look, they just don't even make it even half an attempt to draft each other. I'm not sure what they're doing.
Okay, Yaroslav Donelik has messaged me. Thank you for that. Everything that they're trying to do is because Kid is trying to save fuel. Kid,
He's not saving fuel running on his own in front.
So they've just spent all that time doing nothing. They're losing the gap. Wouldn't it have been better to try and keep Kagash at the back? Kagash pulls in. Kagash is going to pit.
He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it, it looks like.
We just were informed that he was not going to make it, so he's out of it. Dustin up to 4th. Now what's going to happen with Kapal and Martin? If they take each other out, Kagash gets a drive-through. Now, can Kapal and Stephen Martin use these last 13 laps to catch up to Nicky? They've got to work together to try and catch. They may have this game of trying to help one car save fuel.
It's just
it's a total waste.
It was a total waste of time. Yes, I don't understand the sense behind that at all.
Now, unless Steve's got fuel worries, that is about the only reason I could see for him staying behind. He's not even on full throttle.
If so,
is this just a fuel-saving game? Did everyone just totally?
If they've done that, they've all just flushed their head down the toilet.
I'm looking at when Steve last made a pit stop. He last pit on lap 17. He is saving fuel, definitely.
That was a grabbing a toilet, I'd say.
If he can't make it, Dustin gets a podium. Nicky Jakovic looking like he's going to be the first repeat winner of this season. Steve is dumping the clutch. He is clutching it. He is definitely saving fuel. This has to be a gross miscalculation.
Just silly. I really don't understand. I really don't understand it.
Meanwhile, with 10 to go, Nicky Jakovic is just foot to the floor, hitting his marks. As long as he makes no mistakes or has no misfortune, he should be on for a back-to-back win in LFSCART.
I'm not sure how you could make a mistake going flat out and turning right a bit. All on his own.
Nine laps to go. So now let's see if Steve Martin can go 143 laps on one tank of fuel. I'll be amazed. With as few safety car laps as we've had, I don't think there were enough safety car laps to save enough, and that's why he's in this fuel saving mode. I have never seen this before in my LFS career. Now Kagash will pick up. If Kagash has no fuel issue, he's going to be with Martin. They can dump Steve, but they're not going to have enough time to catch Nicky. I don't think.
Oh, I think it's too late. Been too late. It's been too late as soon as they tried to save fuel. It's just ridiculous.
If they knew that it was going to be that close, wouldn't it be better to play it safe? Contact between Martin and Kagash. 7 to go. Now they just got to be careful that while all this silly business is going on, they don't just make something stupid and cause a safety car. There's enough time if one came out right now to get a lap or two sprint.
Owen's doing it as well. Owen Harmon is also half coasting all on his own. Just the silliest thing I've ever seen.
Six to go. Still enough time for a quick caution, or for a caution and a quick restart if necessary. Another lap. That will be out of the window. Steve Martin's going to try to hold on to the bottom step of the podium on fumes. Martin's in. Martin's in.
This is just proven silly.
So, Steve Martin having to pit. This will bring Dustin Dawes his first LFSCART podium if he can last 4 more laps. Nikijakovic through turn 2. 3 to go at the line. Dustin Dawes is officially promoted to 3rd position. There's absolutely strategy just
absolute fail. If that was a race engineer deciding that, I'd fire him straight away.
Steve Martin's up into the wall. He's hit the wall coming out of pit lane. No damage. That left rear tire is roasting. No need for a caution.
Can just go slow for the next 2 laps. Eugen can just go slow. He's got nothing to lose. The guy in front of him is the guy in front of him in position, so he's not going to lose another place.
Kapow, Kagash, drafting. 3/10 that last lap.
Not sure where he's gonna get a 2.5 from. Just not gonna work out.
Just not enough time. Final lap. One more time around this Kyoto Oval Reversed.
It's gonna be like one of the few times that the leader finishes all on his own on the oval.
And it usually happens in the non-major oval events. It usually happens in the in-season oval events. Not enough time for Kapal to be pulled up. They left it too long. Stephen Martin spinning, coming to the finish line. He can just wait. Niki Djakovic comes to win 2 rounds in a row. Niki Djakovic takes the Clockwise challenge just behind Kapal, Kagash, Martin. Dustin Dawes coming out into the final corner now. Dustin Dawes running a very quiet race. He comes to take a provisional 3rd position. Dustin Dawes collecting his first podium in a long time, if not ever. Pepelka finishing. Owen Harmon will be the last car to complete. 7 of 11 starters finishing. So after 2.25 hours of racing, Niki Djakovic has won the Clockwise Challenge. We'll try to get some post-race interviews with as many as we can. We'll definitely want to talk to Dustin. So strategy not playing out. Alrighty, joining us now is the winner of the Clockwise Challenge, Niki Djakovic. Niki, it seems like you had the strategy right. Everyone else had the, oh hello. Everyone else kind of had a little bit of strategy issues. What was your race like,
Yeah,
Niki?
no issues. I'll be back that minute, man. I'm so thirsty.
Okay, well, okay, we'll bring everyone else up while we have the chance. Tom, while we wait for everyone, what were your thoughts on the race? Niki, if you're back, go ahead and carry on with the previous question.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so yeah, question: your race. What was it like? What did you really have any issue? You were
Well,
you
it was
seemed to
all
have the
new
strategy
because I haven't done any old before anything. I mean, this competitive, I did something with TRR that in RAC, but there I managed to get away in the start and lead the whole way. So this was very new. Changed position a lot with Steve Martin and in the end with the Czech guys as well. So it was. I think it was quite a good show and everything.
You're the first driver this season to win 2 races in the LFSCART season. You just won 2 weeks ago
I
at
think
South
it's
City.
good debut.
You showed up for round 6 and you've taken the first 2 rounds. If you're going to be around these final 2 rounds, do you think you can sweep the rest of the season?
Yeah. I mean, I can't answer that now.
What is the likelihood of you attending the final 2 rounds?
Well, there is one little problem with next round because it's at the same time with 16 hours race, and I'm planning to take part in 16 hours race. So I don't know how's
I'll
that
get
gonna
someone
go
else to
down.
do the 3 hours of this event.
Yeah. Well,
We'll come back to you in just a second. Quickly, Martin Kapal, you took second. Did you have enough fuel to make it to the end? And if so, what was the reasoning to try and help Kagash try to stretch it? Was there a chance that fuel could have stretched and could have kept both of you in the chance win, or was it just you kind of consider it now a mistake on strategy?
Well, first of all, this was like just the strangest race ever in LFSCART I've had, because all this trailing behind cars, not drafting for like I don't know 50 laps. That was quite must have been really exciting on the street. So back to the point. Yes, I had like 13.5% of fuel left at the end, so I was completely fine. So all I was doing was trying to for the kid to save fuel because he was really short on fuel. He could have probably made it to the end if we hadn't paid it, but he decided to make the decision and pay. So I kind of, and at the same time I lost the draft with Nikki, so I was kind of on the blind spot, so I couldn't draft with him. And Stephen Martin as well was saving fuel, so it was quite an interesting finish.
Alrighty, and Mr. Dustin Dawes. Quietly,
Hello?
quietly coming onto the bottom step of the podium. Congratulations, your first podium in LFSCART.
My first podium in league racing ever.
Well, even better. What was it like?
Well, it was a little bit frustrating near the beginning portions. I got paired off with, I think, I can't remember his first name now, and I just was not doing well drafting with him. I was faster by myself, and then after we had an incident, then it sort of cleared up. I was by myself after Martin caught me and Kid, and after that I just kept it clean. I was starting to turn some pretty quick laps, like by myself, and then even near the end, kept partnering with Papelka. It was a good last probably 30-40 laps with by myself, Papelka just going faster and faster.
Alrighty. So, yeah, it's the oval. Yeah, it was a small grid, but do you think that this is a well-earned podium, or do you think that you would rather have earned it with a little more competition?
Well, definitely more competition. Like, I pretty much got gifted to it with Zdenek having his pit stop with fuel, which I was in the TeamSpeak channel with the team, and they were like telling me that they were trying to save kids fuel. And then Steven, I don't know, I had no idea what was going on with him. Like, he just pulled in the pits, and then I'm like, oh, I'm third place now with like 6 laps to go. So it's pretty much, it wasn't earned, it was pretty gifted, and having a podium would have been much better with competition, actually having to fight for it hard.
Well, congratulations all the same. It was an equal playing field for everyone, so you had a better strategy, but strategy mistakes costing them the podium spots. Well, we'll thank you all. Since it's not a road course race, we skip the comments in own language this time, and since we're getting close to our 1 clip time window, I'd like to congratulate the top 3. Winner Nikki Jakovic, Martin Cavall second, Dustin Dawes third. Thank you all. Congratulations. Hopefully see you in a couple weeks at Fern Bay.
alright, cheers.
So Dom, your
Yes.
final comment, your kind of final thoughts on this race.
It seemed much longer than it was, that's for sure. And at least the people who did stay till the end. And, well, I hope that's an ongoing trend for the last 2 races.
Absolutely. Looking at the schedule ahead, 2 weeks' time, August 10th, 72 laps at Fern Bay Gold Reversed. It will be more of an endurance challenge, making sure you keep it on the very narrow road. 2 rounds left. Hopefully we have a good battle for the championship towards the end of it. So, thanks to Thilo Falkenberg and Stuart Baker for all their effort today. Stu driving with a very few safety cars, Thilo for all of his race directorship. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Once again, congratulations. Quickly through the provisional results. Nikki Dakovic winning. Martin Capel second. Third, Dustin Dawes. Fourth, Zdenek Kagash. Fifth, Stephen Martin. Matthias Pipelka sixth. Owen Harmon, the final runner, seventh. 3 laps down. Retiring, Remco Major, Matisse Lind, Jake Cooper, and Ronnie Krompush. So, once again, congratulations everyone. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time from Fern Bay Gold Reversed. Until then, for Dominik Engel, I'm John LaPalmer saying good night, everyone.